All right, and with that, it is 11 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Welcome to this week's episode of the Navigator Fireside Chats. In addition to Ion and Ben, who are regulars with us here from Navigator, we also have Adrian with us this morning as well. So just briefly, as we always do before we start, gentlemen, would you mind introducing yourselves to our attendees and letting them know what you do with Navigator? We'll start with Ion.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Creation. I am the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Navigator. I'm very excited to be here. Let's have a very productive engagement and conversation and help each other out.
Okay, thank you so much. Ben, would you mind?
Oh, hey, can I pass it to Adrian? It feels weird going before him. Or, if you didn't hear that, I'll go. Yeah, so I'm Ben Schmink. I am currently in my car, but for safety purposes, I'm not driving anywhere today. I'm just feeling more at home doing business in my car, because that's what I do. I'm still mostly in theoretical outside sales. I've got my own merchant portfolio, and I use Navigator. Actually, Ian told me that my company actually is the #1 user of Navigator at the moment. So apparently my testimony has weight.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
So I'm Adrian Talapan. I'm co-founder and CEO of Navigator, and we're very glad that we have you here with us so that we can look at what's happening in the market and kind of help each other out. So with that, I'll give it to Kira to guide us along with a few questions.
Okay, great, thank you. So as we have been doing, we're going to have a mixture of questions today, some that are more related to business, to merchant services, to what we're doing out in the field, and then a few that are just geared at helping us stay engaged, stay connected, and get through these interesting times we're living through. So actually wanted to start the conversation today talking a little bit about some of the stimulus packages, offers, loans that are being provided right now by our local and federal governments. So as you know, the government offered in their stimulus package paycheck protection for your employees. They also offered some low interest loans, and some portions of those loans can actually be forgiven. So I'm wondering if we could start with Adrian, and if he could give us some insights. Have you looked into these plans, and what actions do you plan on taking? Do you have any information you can share with people on the call that might be relevant to them today?
Sure, and this is very important for this part of our fireside chat, because the stimulus package that was passed is quite significant. So the government is paying for 250% of your employees' salaries to keep them employed, and certainly we will take advantage of that. The government is also offering emergency business loans to help assist with really anything other than hiring, but if you want that as well. But essentially, the Paycheck Protection Program is limited to employees. The emergency assistance loans can be applied for anything else. And if you haven't done already so, you can go to SBA, the Small Business Administration website, and sign up. There is a $10,000 loan that will be forgiven, and that's something to help in the short term. And you can apply for more later. And if you already have loans that you contracted with various banks, be aware that the government, through the Small Business Administration, is essentially guaranteeing 75 to 85% of it. So if you are currently have debt, you can get relief for that. Or if you currently find a market need, so you need to contract a loan, you may find that these times are really beneficial. So definitely we're looking at all the options. We engage in a few. Definitely take advantage of this time. It's quite unique in that sense.
Thank you, Adrian. Has anybody on the call actually gone through the process of this or started this or have any insights or questions? Has anybody actually gone through this process yet, or have, anything that maybe we can problem solve together as a group? Just kind of open it up for questions or comments right now. If nothing particular, then I will ask before we move to the next question whether either Ion or Ben have anything to add. Appreciate the really helpful summary from Adrian. Ion or Ben, anything to add before we move on?
Not so much on the various government programs and loans, but just a reminder that when we're talking to our merchants, that there are a lot of people right now. I think every one of my clients is suffering, and it's funny that they're not necessarily suffering for a lack of business. I actually have a couple of clients that are suffering from being overwhelmed with business. Just kind of depends on what market you're in. I mean, I've got a couple of grocery stores that can't keep paper in stock, not toilet paper, credit card receipt paper. Because they're going through, so I'm making like adjustments to have their devices not print receipts if the transaction's under a certain amount, because it's just a funny world how every time my phone rings, I don't quite know what the need is going to be, and I can't make any assumptions anymore as to what I think their need is. I have to listen to them, hear their pain, and then find a solution to help navigate through it.
Great, thank you, Ben. And the only thing I'll add for the group too, again, I have not explored a whole lot in the business loan section, but there's also been significant measures passed in the student loan area. That is something that I've had my eye on very closely. So again, whether you or someone in your life has significant amount of student loans or student debt, there were a number of measures passed as well that you can either forbear on those with no penalty, or if you choose to continue paying, they've applied a 0% interest, and so it's opportunity to really get ahead. So again, I don't know how many people on the call that is relevant for, if any of you are still struggling with student loan debt, but there is relief out there as well. So if you or anyone in your life needs to look into that, it's definitely out there, or feel free to contact me. I've done some extensive research as I have some extensive student loans. So with that, then we'll move on to our next question. And this first question is a little bit more lifestyle based and just a little bit more collaborative. How can we help each other out? So the first question for the day is we're talking a little about routine today. As many of us are settling into our new normal, we have probably realized the parts of our routine that we might miss. There may be used to, get up, go into the office, get your cup of coffee, shoot the breeze with your coworkers, and then kind of go about on your day. And so a lot of those really simple pieces of our routine have either changed or are missing. But routines can be really healthy, and they can help us get in a mindset of doing what we need to do and going where we need to go. So I'm wondering if Ben and Ion would give us some insights. What does your routine look like now as a merchant services professional? Are there parts of that routine that you would recommend to others? I'm going to ask that question to Ben first.
Well, it's funny. My routine has even been more sabotaged by the fact that it's been 2 weeks and I've been able to get a solid internet connection and get a technician to even come to the house because of the overwhelming value of internet and the shortage of technicians. So even with that, I still haven't changed the time that my alarm goes off in the morning. So I keep getting up as if you've got the world begging you to see them is still an important part, because once we start that technique of snoozing 100 times and getting up around noon because there's nothing on your list of things to do, it's going to take a whole lot longer to kick back into high gear once once our phones start ringing off the hook again. And not just waking up, but getting dressed. These seem like little things, but when you're home and you don't have the pressure of having to see a coworker in real life, I'm not convinced that you're wearing anything besides pajama pants right now, because who knows? But I'd highly recommend even putting on socks and shoes, even if you have no intention of leaving the house. These are little things, but they absolutely change your mental direction. When you are dressed for business, even if you are not going to see anyone physically.
Very wise words. Thank you, Ben. Ion, anything to share with the group?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. And before I answer the question, because I'm going to use in my answer a quote from my mentor and best friend who passed away last week, I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment of silence. And during this time, I'm going to turn on a clock, and I'll see why. Let's take a moment of silence, please. So time and life are the two most important or most precious assets we all have. Time and money. No, I'm sorry, time and life, not money. Money is not the most precious or important asset. My mentor always used to say, wake up, go to work, do your homework, do your work, and help somebody. Those are the words that stick with me forever. And in the memory of my friend and mentor, Ivan, I'll do something about. I had a routine before, but I will actually make my routine even better than before. Every day when I wake up at 6 o'clock, I make sure that the day from the work I did in the previous day, it's already settled and I can move on into a new day. Usually I wake up at 6 o'clock, I have coffee, I reflect at yesterday, and I'm thinking and planning the new day. And I work hard all day, but I am very careful in balancing the time I put into work with the time I have to invest into my family and the time I have to invest into things that gives me pleasure personally. So I am balancing my time right now. Normally I should balance 33, 33, 33, but I balance like 90% Navigator and 10% family. It's temporarily, but I'm really passionate and focused on really bringing Navigator to life and take advantage of this time to build something that will make a difference to many people's lives. So that's my routine.
Thank you, Ian, for sharing. And I think I echo everyone's sentiments on the call who know you. Just deepest sympathies for the passing of Mr. Ivan. And thank you for being willing to share that with us, kind of bring that to this communal table, and share that. So yeah. Before we move on to the next question, is there anybody else out there who is with us today who has a portion of their routine that they find really valuable or that they would like to share? Just pause for a moment for anyone to add to the group. Danny, is that you?
It is. It's me. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. One of the things that I started doing before all this happened is just going in my backyard, bare feet, and I have a tree back there I named Phalanges because it has these like branches that look like fingers. And every day I go and spend time with Phalanges and I talk with Phalanges, and it just helps center me. And it helps me feel more connected to the earth and more, less anxiety and more in balance. And Ian was really bringing up a key point about balance. And that's something that we all struggle with all the time, is keeping that balance with family, with work, with all these different things that we're juggling. And now that we're all slowing down a bit and we're not going as fast as we used to, this is prime opportunity to really look within and take that time. So that's one of the things that I've been doing.
Thank you, Danny. Anybody else? Okay, and we'll move on to our next question. We're about halfway through our time here, and we are pretty on track today. So I want to talk again a little bit more about our merchants. I know that we had talked both last week and this week. Ben, you had just mentioned that some of our merchants who are doing well are struggling with some really simple things like having enough paper or making sure that they're stocked. I want to talk about specific practical ways that we can help two types of merchants today: the ones that are doing really well. But then conversely, I think it's important to talk about or brainstorm or try to see if we can offer some specific suggestions for how to help merchants who are not doing well right now. So I'm wondering if you would start off the conversation.
Absolutely. We at Navigator started an initiative a couple of days ago It's called Help a Merchant Out Today. Our solution includes the instant savings calculator that allows merchants to simply find out in a couple of seconds if they are paying a non-PCI compliance fee. Non-PCI compliance fee is a fee they pay if they do any transaction or they don't. They still have to pay that fee every month. And in the next couple of days, all the merchants going to be their bank accounts will be charged the fees for the month of March. And if we all can make a difference in one merchant a day in their life, in helping them, if they have activity or they don't, in doing whatever needs to be done to avoid that fee, I think we make a really big impact. That's what I would like to say, is helping a merchant who is active, a merchant who is not active. That one thing makes a big difference.
Awesome, thank you. Ben?
Well, I definitely agree with Ian that merchants who are, I've got one coffee shop who, she's been out of business now or she's been unable to open, I should say, for about a month. So like Ian said, most of our merchants don't notice monthly fees as much because it's kind of a small percentage of the overall cost of doing business. But in a month where your volume is slowed down to almost nothing, all of a sudden these monthly fees stand out as a huge percentage of the amount that they're being charged. I bet you some of our merchants will expect a zero bill for zero volume because they never had zero volume before. And all of a sudden they're seeing zero volume, but $50, $60 worth of monthly fees, and that's going to be an attention getter. Certainly it'll be for our merchants, but it's obviously an opportunity, to win their business or to help them with the small things like getting PCI compliant, which is 20, 30, or in some cases well over $100 a month. So practically speaking, simply from a financial standpoint, helping a merchant diagnose unnecessary monthly fees right now, that's no small thing. That can be depending on the merchant, that could be $1,000 extra for the year that they paid last year and didn't even notice, but this year $1,000 they'll notice. So Fee Navigator's program to help these merchants diagnose that situation is smart.
Great, Ben. Thank you. Super strong insights. Anything else from the group, or any of our other professional merchant services? Anything that you've seen, anything that you've experienced that you'd want to share with the group? Just pause for a moment. All right, then we're going to soldier on to our fourth question of the day, this one close to my heart. But as merchant services agents, really kind of wherever we are in this room, I know we also have some other professionals in publishing and other industries. We're entrepreneurs in one way or another. And a lot of us are doing our own marketing, our own prospecting, taking care of some of these things, without, on our own or without support departments. So I'm wondering if you could talk about what marketing channels are, is Fee Navigator finding the most valuable right now? How are you using them? Or just how are you using marketing channels in your personal prospecting efforts? I'm wondering if I could ask Ben that question first.
Oh, what's funny? I've spent, prior to the virus, I've spent a lot of time reaching out to hundreds of merchants, personally, one-on-one. Frankly, I'm still old school, and that unlike Don, who is the master of reaching thousands or hundreds of thousands at a time, I'm still in that one-on-one. I guess we used to call.
You're breaking up a little bit, Ben. I'm sorry, Ben, can you hold 1 second? We can't hear you. Sorry, we've lost your audio, Ben. Let's try pitching over to Ion for a moment. We'll come back to you in a minute and see if we can get that resolved. But let's have Ben pause for the moment. And Ion, I'm going to pitch that question to you. Marketing channel.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always happy to talk about marketing. I'm not a marketing guy, but I enjoy marketing. And actually, Adrian calls me Kardashians because I enjoy the likes from the people on LinkedIn. I actually enjoy to have 7,560 followers on LinkedIn. And I really enjoy when I post something and I have thousands of people liking it or viewing it. That makes me to feel proud that I can help someone. When someone follows me and look what I write, that means I make a difference in their lives. So that's one thing. And lately, most recently, I'm actually learning every day from Don and people like Don how to speak in front of the camera. I've always been afraid to speak in front of the camera, but we at Navigator, with the help of Don, were able to grow our YouTube channel to over 1,000 followers, and we have thousands of views on our YouTube videos. So those two are the two I really like and I enjoy growing and promoting.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pitch back to Ben and see, Ben, can we hear you?
Did any of what I said before come through at all?
Probably only maybe the first sentence. Maybe we could just back it up from the beginning.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Great, that was weird. So, in a nutshell, unlike Don, unlike the Navigator, I'm still a one-on-one handshake kind of guy. And again, I'm not quite sure what we'll call this in the future. I'll be an elbow bump deal kind of guy. So I'm happy that I spent the last few non-virus related months, reaching out to about 1,000 individual clients via text and via email and via direct face-to-face contact. So I've been advising. It's actually funny. I've been advising more of my non-merchants this week than I actually have my actual clients, and without making the attempt to win them over. Simply just to help them through their process with a caveat at the end that I'd love to have their business as soon as the smoke clears. So, so far, my business's reputation is still really good. And again, as soon as we're over this curve, I'm looking forward to a dramatic bump up in business as I reach out to all the folks that I helped, simply because it was the right thing to do, prior to that.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Ben. Anybody else from the group? I know we have Don with us today, who is also a marketing professional. I don't know if he has any insights to share. Put him on the spot. But wondering if there's anybody out there in the audience who would like to share any of their marketing insights, places they're finding value, or channels you're using right now. Just pause for a moment.
Yeah, I'll come on and tell you guys a little bit about what we've been working on. I'm more of a cast a wide net type of guy, not a one-on-one like Ben. So I'd like to do a little bit of work, a YouTube video or a LinkedIn post, and see how many people I can reach on that. And that's kind of what we've been doing with trying to find little videos or content that we can blast out that not only is for us to say, here we are, look at us, but also to try to bring value to the market and have people actually want to watch and to learn more and just try to help the community right now where everybody's kind of struggling.
Great, thank you. Anybody else on the call this morning? No, then before we go to our last one, I will share a brief insight, something that we've shared with some of our clients. Found a really, really powerful article earlier this week talking about 3 of the most important things in your marketing messages during this time period. Those are speed, usefulness, and empathy. So really kind of driving home those 3 points. The businesses who are able to be quickly responsive, provide useful material, and show a human side are going to be the ones that are going to come out winning on the other side of this, because we will get to the other side. There will be an endpoint, and hopefully we will all be busier than we can possibly imagine, and someday we'll be bemoaning because we're so busy, that we are struggling to keep up. So those are my tips there for the day, and then we'll move on to our last question. So our last question is really just more of a collaborative, let's hear you doing, let's get some suggestions going. I am wondering if each person on the call, you don't have to respond, but we have enough time if you would like to, if each person on the call could recommend at least one piece of healthy, educational, or inspiring media for the group. So that is a book, a podcast, a TV series, a movie, anything that you loved or something that blew your mind. So I'm wondering if, Ben, do you have a healthy piece of educational or inspiring media that you can share with the group?
Well, no surprise to Ian, at least. I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I have my nose in the Bible all the time. So that may not be the most popular answer in modern culture, but next week, pretty much a week from today, there's a really important holiday that's biblical that kind of requires people to stay inside their homes for the day. It's called it's Passover, but in Hebrew it's called Pesach, and it's obviously what Good Friday is sort of spun off on in Christian culture. But it's just really fascinating to read that story and realize how staying indoors was a requirement. So I think every human being in America and on the face of the earth can relate to the idea of a quarantine. I don't think the Bible had months and months in mind, but at least for this one night, we can really relate to the heroes of a timeless book, and kind of put ourselves in their shoes.
It's great. It's beautiful. Thank you. Ion, anything that you can share with the group?
Yes, absolutely. Every morning, 6 o'clock, I listen to Darren Hardy 5 minutes motivational video. 5 minutes, that's all. Every day. And actually, if you don't watch that today, tomorrow will be taken away. Basically, he said that you have to change small habits in order to be successful. Also, I like to mention and to share the group, I subscribe to Audible. I have the Audible app, so when I go walk around, I can listen books on tape. So the last book I read or listened on the Audible is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. That book talks about how when people set up goals at the end of the year, that's very unrealistically, because goals can only be accomplished and achieved by changing small habits. So those are the two pieces of tips or tricks I can share with the group. And I will not forget the fact that, like Ben, I'm involved and believe in the power of God. And I'm very excited to share that actually my church brought me on their board beginning of the year to bring technology into the church. And they were kind of said, no, don't do this in January. And today, in these days, the church has a Zoom channel, a YouTube channel, the website, the pay now button, the everything technology. So the church keeps going using the technology and digital space.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ion. All right, we're going to open it up to the group, looking for a piece of relevant, healthy, educational, inspirational media. I'll pause to see if there are any suggestions. Dale, go ahead. Thank you.
I recently reread the two Jungle books. The original Jungle book that I grew up with, and I didn't realize there was actually a second Jungle book. And it's by Rudyard Kipling, and I really enjoyed the book very much, but it was very interesting because I also found it was very relevant to what we're going through now. Because as I reflect on the lessons in the book, there's a little baby who gets separated from his mother, and he grows up in a wolf pack, and he learns the laws of the jungle. And he has to use his brain. He doesn't have the same type of weaponry that the other animals are born with. And there comes a time in the middle of the book where all of the animals who are very compliant with the laws of the jungle, and they're also hyper competitive, they undergo a drought that becomes life-threatening. And they invoke what they call a truce. It's a water truce. And all of the species gather around the watering hole, and they all observe this truce, and they let each other drink and stay alive. And I feel that right now we're having a worldwide water truce. And we can forget our differences, and we can forget our competition, and we can embrace our common humanity and help each other drink from the watering hole.
Thank you, Dale. Very powerful story. I love that. Anybody else? We still have several minutes. I would love to continue hearing. Yes, Danny.
Okay, so mine, it comes from my childhood, and there's this book, and it's called The Saggy Baggy Elephant, and I don't remember who wrote it, but it talks about, it's kind of similar to what Dale's talking about, but just on a smaller scale, how the elephants didn't embrace the little one and made fun of it, and because it was different. But by the end of the book, this little elephant had the courage to do amazing things that they weren't expecting, and then became the hero. So that one always brings a smile to my face. I'll bring that one up with my daughter. She's now 21. She rolls her eyes at me, but it's still one near and dear to my heart. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been a while since I've read that one. I do remember it. All right. Who else? Yeah, go ahead, Don. Thank you.
Yeah, I read a lot of books. I'm also on Audible, so me and Ian share different books back and forth. But one of the ones I came back to that I haven't read in a while, I don't know if you guys like Robert Kiyosaki. He's real estate, money-based a lot, but he's also life lessons and changing different ways that you behave. And then, as everybody probably knows that knows me, Grant's book here. This one's a little one. It's only, I don't know, 50 pages or something. But you can get this one free. I think it was free. It probably still is at millionairebooklet.com. And I go in here in the morning sometimes when I just want to get my head straight, where I want to get out of home life and daddy life, and I want to get into business life. And I'll go ahead and read a couple pages of this, kind of get me back on track, and like you said, put some pants on.
Thank you so much, Don. Who else? Okay, I'll give you mine then, and I think Ion may finish us up today, but I'll give you mine. A book that I read before the coronavirus crisis started. It's called Quantum Leap Thinking. The author's name is James Mapes. The book came to me just kind of out of a really strange circumstance. I did not, it was passed to my fiance, through to me, and I decided to give it a look. It was really, really powerful. It's about the power of visualization to change your life, and in a very practical, scientific, philosophical, psychological way. So I really got a lot of tools from that book that were very, very powerful. And my other piece of media, nobody has talked about a video game yet. So I'm going to give you guys a video game. If you're gamers, if your kids are, this is appropriate for everybody. I played a game not too long called Abzu. It's ABZU. It is an exploration game underwater. Your character just swims through these vast oceans of beautiful, exotic, crazy wildlife and flowers and fish. And it's just really, really gorgeous and really relaxing. So good for everybody, good for all ages. Highly, highly recommend. Anybody else before we kick it back to Ion? Any other media or suggestions? No? Okay, well then I'm going to ask Ion if you'd like to close us up today.
Absolutely, it is my pleasure and honor to do that. So when I started this career 15 years ago, our manager, Ben Miles, always used to leave us a voice message on a voicemail because we didn't have emails at that time. And my favorite quote that he was always saying on the call was, if it is to be, it is up to me. He always used to say, I'll give you a sentence with 10 words. Each or has 2 letters. If it is to be, it is up to me. So I'll give you another one, and I'll close this call. Live every day like you'll die tomorrow. That's something I created. And that really came to me because of losing my mentor and friend last week. And I like to encourage everyone to live every day like you will die tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much for those closing words, Ion. Thank you everybody for being with us today. We are a few minutes over, but I think that's all right. We look forward to seeing everybody next week. Please remember that we will continue to hold these weekly. It will probably stay with this focus of combination of tactical strategy and then just support and collaboration discussions. So we will look forward to seeing you next week at 11 a.m. Same time, same place. Everybody take care, and we will see you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.